This is The Gorge. It is a podcast where my friend Sara and I will gorge ourselves on overanalyzing a topic. This week, what are we talking about?
Oh, you were really excited to do that one on your own, weren't you?
I was like, wait, no, we changed the format again.
We changed the format, and Ben is chomping at the bit, because this week we are talking about the return of the Obra Dinn for PC and Mac. That's it right now. Developed by the excellent Lucas Pope, the man behind Papers, Please, another damn fine indie game. These are games this guy makes all by himself, which is just shocking to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like the way this guy uses, like, the old aesthetic of things. I like the theming and presentation of his games.
Yep. Yeah.
Fuck, this is a really good game.
The Return of the Obra Dinn is absurdly good and kind of came out of nowhere. Like, I know that Lucas Pope had been developing, this thing was in development for 4 years. Like, he talked about it while he was working on and putting out Papers, Please. And a really recurring thing, I was doing some research before this episode because it's fascinating. A thing he mentioned was that he really didn't care to do, like, promotional stuff for the Return of the Obra Dinn because he is still raking in fat stacks from Papers, Please. He was literally like, this is just a passion project. I'm not gonna, like, obsess over marketing it and getting it out on time. It's just gonna come out when it comes out. And so he worked on it for 4 years. And
so he Toby Foxed it. He
Toby Foxed. He did. He just kind of, he had this plan, and he's just been ticking away at it. And in the meantime, he developed a completely revolutionary way of rendering 3D environments with a 1-bit style, which is just amazing, which is probably where we should start.
Yeah, I think definitely we should start with the art style of this game and how it is, like, fucking mind-blowing.
This game beat out major, and I know, like, the Game Awards mean nothing. We all know this. You all know this. Everybody who's listening to The Gorge knows that the Game Awards mean jack shit. But this game, in a year where, like, Red Dead Redemption was the hot new shit, this game beat RDR2 and Spider-Man and a bunch of AAA titles for the best art design. And boy, does it deserve it, because holy shit, right?
Holy shit, like, this game manages to perfectly encapsulate that feeling of what you thought old games looked like.
What your memory remembers old games looking like? Yeah.
It managed to completely translate the feeling of those old point-and-click adventure games, like King's Quest or that
Monkey Island,
yeah, stuff like that, into a modern 3D environment.
Yeah, and sometimes the rendering is a little ticky. That's, like, one of my, like, minor complaints about this game, but we'll worry about that in a minute. Sometimes it's a little ticky, and it's kind of hard to tell what's going on because it is, like, that 1-bit rendering kind of look. But, I mean, otherwise, when you just, that first time you load the game up and the start screen itself is just, you know, the ship in silhouette and the moon, and you're just like, oh, this is something special. Like, the first I saw a trailer for the Return of the Obra Dinn, after everybody had started talking about it, you know, the kind of people were going like, oh shit, you should play Obra Dinn, like, now. And so I looked up, like, a trailer, and holy hell, I was just like, I've never seen anything like it. It's such a unique style. Like, other games have tried to replicate the old Macintosh, like, kind of
like DOS?
Yeah, DOS, ZX 500, or whatever it's called. Kind of systems. They've replicated it, but in a different way. They usually render it in a more true to form look, where it actually, they basically are using like a ROM to emulate kind of the look of the game, which is, you know, old 2D graphics and stuff. But this is using 3D graphics and was built in Unity, and is using, like, really cool, like, diffusion shaders and stuff to mimic that look of both hand-drawn art and like the old computer game style, because those textures are, it's all just a diffusion map. It's not like a handmade thing. This is just a specific rendering technique that Lucas Pope kind of duct taped together on his own, and that is fascinating to me. To be like this one dude who lives in like Japan with his wife, literally, just is like sitting around, just kind of absent-mindedly making a new way to make video games look cool. Like, how cool is that?
It's amazing.
It's amazing to me.
It's this kind of like revolutionary tech that is used for a game that like absolutely deserves it, because like everything about this game, if you were to, it's greater than the sum of its parts.
Right.
In a way that if it didn't have one of the aspects that make it so good, it would be a significantly less impressive and like entrancing project.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all these different elements coming together is what makes it so fascinating. Because the graphic style and the art style itself, the direction, is what really puts you in the shoes of, you really feel like you are walking around in an ink drawing or a print from the 1800s.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the things are kind of hard to discern. Mm-hmm. I think that's the point, though.
I think that is the point, but every now and then it's like, how was I supposed to see that, Lucas Pope?
Like, a lot of these scenes, like, the point is that, no, you can't make out the fine details of people's faces, or you can't, like...
Right.
If these were high-def, like, full-color rendered models, it wouldn't be that same feeling of, like... It's like, this art style is, like you said, it's how you translate those old 1800 sketches,
Yeah, absolutely. It you get the same sense of like going and looking at an old painting or something with a magnifying glass. Like when you go to look, there's that really famous painting of the Tower of Babel, and it like you look at it as like a whole, and you're like, oh wow, and then you can take like a magnifying glass and really look at the details because the painter was like a crazy person. That's what the Obra Dinn makes me think of, like that style. It gives you that feeling of really poring over a piece of art with just going at it with a fine-tooth comb and kind of picking out all the details and this game is basically just a series of sets, not set pieces, but literally like somebody set up a diorama. There's my English.
Yeah.
You feel like you're picking through, like, what is it? It's like 50? It's about 50 dioramas, right?
Yeah.
Something
50
like
or
that.
so, like literally frozen moments in time that you can walk around.
Yeah, it's that cool feeling of, like, being in a museum or something.
Yeah, like everything's on display for you.
It does such a good job of making you, like, feel like you're in the past, and oh my god, the sound design really contributes to that as well. I think the sound design in Obra Dinn is, like, one of the more underrated aspects of the game, but I've been playing it with, like, my big cans on, and just, you have it all coming from, and some of it's like, did I really need to hear that artist, like, really about to shit himself to death? Did I? Lucas Pope, did I have to hear that in graphic detail? I thought that guy was gonna die pooping. I really thought, like, the guy was gonna poop himself to death.
It's, like, I want to talk, like, way more about some of these certain characters specifically, but, like, that's, like, heavy spoiler territory. Like, you can't say a word about the plot of this game without being like, oh, that's a spoiler.
That's a spoiler, yeah.
But yeah, that one in particular, it's like, ooh, being on a ship is gross.
Yeah, it turns out being on a boat sucks. And, like, but all of the sound design in this game is just, like, immaculate. And you walk around and you can, like, I love the sound of, like, the water kind of, like, lap, like when you're down on the Orlop deck, the lowest deck, and you can, like, you know that you're underwater at that point because the ship is sunk into the water. You can, like, hear it, kind of that muffled, like water moving sound.
Yeah.
And man, it is good and atmospheric and just good. And so good.
Especially the musical stings.
Yeah.
That kind of untuned violin, I guess,
And it does a good job of setting the tone and the time period, because these are like, it's like sea shanty music.
Right.
And go ahead.
it's just like it's really good to have good musical cues in your game, especially for puzzle games and mystery games like that, where like you want to have that sense of like progression, and celebration when you get something right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this game does a really good job of that. Like, I remember noting like you get that Pavlov response when you hear the musical cue that you got 3 in a row.
Yes, and you're like, yay, I'm not stupid.
You're like, oh, brain tingle.
Happy brain. Makes me feel validated, like I know what I'm doing. And I don't.
No.
I spent a lot of this game just going like, what am I doing? And there's a really good, like, I'll admit to it, there's a really good hint guide out there that is like, hey, you should pay attention to this thing. And then I'll go like, oh, you're right, I should pay attention to this thing. Thanks, guide. Thanks, hint guide. Yeah.
I didn't think to look at that. I was gonna walk right past that because I'm used to like I'm used to things like having a radiance around them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like, this is the important thing.
This is the definition of like when people are like, video games are too hand-holdy these days. Cool, you need to play this game then, idiot. If you think video games are too hand-holdy, maybe you should play The Return of the Obra Dinn and come back to us in about 10 hours and tell us how you feel. Maybe you want like an indicator every now and then.
Right?
Oh, God. But no, it's just like... But then the deal is that when you do figure things out, you're like, I am a genius.
Right.
I am basically Sherlock Holmes.
Right? Like your mind expands and your third eye opens and the truth is revealed to you.
No one can hide anything from me. I am the world's greatest detective. I will solve what happened to John Benet Ramsey. Like, that's me, okay? Now I am the detective.
You're like, oh, I should become a private investigator.
I am so smart. And then, like, a few minutes later, the hint guide is like, hey, pay attention to this guy's pipe. And I'm like, shit, I'm such an idiot. So, yeah.
But no, this game is also one of those really cool things. We talk about this a lot, about the idea of a story being told in a way that only a game can tell.
Absolutely.
But not in the way we usually do, where it's like, oh, this game plays with the meta. Because this game very much does not play with meta.
Right.
Which is a shocking thing for Indie Week.
Yeah, Indie Week should just be called Meta Week.
But I got the same feeling that I did when we were playing Her Story.
Oh man, you are like the fourth person to compare this game that I've talked to compare this game to Her Story, and you are so right.
Like that's what it feels like, because it's that same level of like, well, the game doesn't really direct you so much as kind of like lean you towards certain paths, but it's really totally up to you to kind of follow the paths that you think are important. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like the best way to play this game, just as a tip, like your pro tip, if you haven't played it yet, and we haven't gotten into spoiler territory yet, so it's okay.
No, don't worry.
But the best way to like play this game, I think, if you're interested in playing the Obra Dinn, is to just get all of the memories first.
Right.
You know, like for a little while when I started playing the game, I was like driving myself insane trying to figure out who people were in the heat of the moment. And sometimes it's super, super obvious. You'll get a few where you're like, I know who that guy is, like right off the bat.
Or you'll get things where it's like, oh no, it's Killing Bob, and it's like, okay, well, I know who that guy is now.
Right.
But there's like 5 memories in the entire game that give a name.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time, you just kind of have to like really just click things together, and every now and then you get lucky. But like the best way you could possibly play this game is to just play through and get all of the memories and then go from there. And like you said, then it's just a matter of literally picking a memory, just whichever one sticks out in your mind first, and going, okay, let's solve this one and see how that branches outward, you know?
Mm-hmm. You get a lot of, okay, well, you know what? I know who this guy is.
Right.
And I know he's in this one. Mm-hmm. So what is he doing in this one where this other guy is dying? Like, okay, so if he's doing that, then it can't be this guy. It's gotta be the other guy.
Right.
And if I go back to this memory that he's in, I can see where he is here. It's a lot of like, okay, well, once you figure out what he's doing when he dies, it's going back and figuring out by association who he is.
Right, yeah. And you get like really good, eventually you kind of learn that like, generally speaking, officers hang out with officers, top men hang out with top men, and so forth and so on. And so you can start pointing things out. You know that, like, midshipmen all kind of have the same uniform. Things like that. And you start piecing it together and going, well, there's only, 3, 4 midshipmen? So if you can figure out who those midshipmen are, that's a lot. And then...
Right, yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, I know who this midshipman is, and he killed a guy. And that's like, oh, dang, you just solved, like, 6. Like, the cool thing about Obra Dinn is that once you hit, like, what'd you say, like 30 people?
Yeah, about halfway, it becomes like a cascade.
Yeah, suddenly you're like, you've got enough names, especially because, thank God, this game removes, like, once you have names locked in, it takes those names out of the death, like, the list of people who are dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like really helpful.
Yeah, it's so nice. Like, once you lock it in, and it's like, for sure, that's how this person died, that name is removed from, like, the list of people who could be dead. And so then you have, like, it slowly narrowing down, and you can just start slotting things in, and it's great. The feeling is incredible, and it makes you feel smart, so you should definitely play the Obra Dinn. It's like 20, it's $20? It's $20
like,
on Steam?
I think 20, yeah, and, like, it is well worth it. It is worth that money.
It's absolutely worth $20. I can't recommend the Obra Dinn enough. I think if it's not Game of the Year, it's like second or third game of the year.
So the way I'll put it is that I will be talking about this game in January.
Yeah, I understand completely. Yeah, I think there's one other game I would say Game of the Year over Obra Dinn. But the list is small because Obra Dinn is genuinely and legitimately that good. So,
not only is it a fantastic game, it is also a game that deserves to, like, get a lot of sales.
Yeah, absolutely. It deserves to do well because Lucas Pope is he's just a really interesting creative who is taking, like, very mundane concepts. You're a border agent in Papers, Please, and you're a insurance adjuster in The Return of the Obra Dinn. I tell my friends about this game. I was talking to a friend. I was like, yeah, I'm playing The Return of the Obra Dinn. They're like, what's it about? I'm like, well, you play an insurance adjuster in 1807. And they're like, excuse me?
Yeah, you're just kind of, ghost ship rolled in, and you got to figure out how everyone died, and you're just doing it for insurance purposes.
You're literally doing it to fill out claims for the East India Trade Company. How great is that?
And you're like, oh.
Like, it's like, on paper, it's like, that's kind of mundane, but then, like, it's a mystery, and everybody loves mysteries. Yeah. Everybody loves a good mystery.
Well, okay, so, like, I think we should veer into spoiler territory now, because, like, it's impossible to talk about the plot of this game without, like, the whole point is to figure out every detail of everyone's lives on this ship.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if when we start dropping names, it'll be like, oh, well, I know a good third of the crew now.
Yeah, and if I mean, like, literally giving away, like, 3 names can unlock, like, 20 dudes. Mm-hmm. So, hey, this is the 20-minute mark-ish. So if what we've just said sounds at all interesting to you, then you should go play The Return of the Obra Dinn, because we're getting into spoiler territory now. So,
yeah.
Bye.
So I think the cool thing about that is that, like, being one of the thing that I really like about this is that this game kind of does have this barrier of getting emotionally invested in it.
Fortunately, this game did not make me cry. Hooray!
Right. And that's, we talk a lot about how, like, games are emotional and can impact you in ways that other mediums can't, but, like, it is kind of cool that this game is like, no, you're an insurance clerk. Your duty is to just figure out how everyone died and move on. So
you can send out claims, or you can find people, or, like that at the end of the game when it gives you the list of, like, who was fined what and stuff like that, or who was awarded, whose families were awarded because of, like, exceptional adherence to duty or whatever. Like, that stuff is great, and it's so mundane, and you're doing this really cool thing, and it just seems to be a day in the life for this guy. Whoever your player character is, it's just a normal day for him.
So what I learned is really cool is that your character's not named, right?
Yeah.
They're just a clerk. It's a random chance when you start up that either you'll be a male voice or a female voice.
Really?
Yeah, for just the whatever handful of lines or grunts they make.
Huh.
It can be either one.
That is very cool. And yeah, the hands are gloved, so it kind of keeps it gender neutral. Mm-hmm. That is really, really cool. I wish I had gotten a lady. I got a dude, unfortunately. I got a dude.
And then, it's cool because, like, for one thing, you can't interact with anything in the memories.
No, not at all.
There's nothing you can pick up, nothing you can touch. There's no, like, interact prompt. The only thing you can do is you can zoom in on a person, and they'll be highlighted, and they'll show their portrait in whatever drawing they're available in.
Right, yeah.
And that's kind of like a good way to, like, identify each person in an easy way. But, like, beyond that, there's no interaction with anything. You don't talk to anyone but two people. You talk to the guy who rows you out, and you talk to the doctor. And that's because they send you letters, but, like,
they send you letters. Yeah, there's a maid. No, there's your maid.
Oh, that's right. There's the maid too.
She has,
but, like,
2 lines.
But that's it. You are so far removed from ever caring about these people.
Yeah, and that kind of gives it interesting because at this point, then it really just becomes like a mystery to be solved. You kind of really are like a Sherlock because you're just not there to get emotionally attached. You are here to solve a mystery and figure out what happened, and that is your job. And you realize like that alone is enough.
Right? And like straight up, I think one of the coolest, like, barriers to that level of caring is that you can't mark you're an insurance clerk. You can't mark things as an accident.
No, you can't. Nothing is an accident on the Obra Dinn.
So someone's at fault.
Yeah, absolutely. It is always someone's fault. And, like, in the case of the Obra Dinn, yeah, pretty much.
There's a lot of things where it's like that person either sacrificed themselves or they killed someone in self-defense or they died in like a legitimate straight up accident.
Right.
And it's like, no, they were murdered. They were attacked.
Yeah, like the first guy, like you told me when we were talking about it, like before I was done with it, you're like, yeah, somebody dies in the first hour of this voyage.
Yeah.
And that poor bastard, right?
Right, yeah. Just some guy just right when, like, the dock is still in sight.
It's Nathan something or his brother. It's Nathan and Sam. They're brothers.
Yeah.
And Samuel. And I can't remember their last name, so fortunately it won't be too spoilerific if you're still listening for some reason. Because there's a ton of names on the Obra Dinn. Holy shit.
There's a lot of names, a lot of, like, similar names that are like, you don't remember who they are. You wrote them, you marked them down because you kind of guessed and you got them right and you moved on.
Right, yeah. There's like a couple that stand out, but that's it.
And even then, like, I mostly identify people just by their ranking or their, their
captain,
position.
Yeah, captain, first mate, blah, 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 stuff like that.
But yeah, literally, like, within minutes, someone dies, and you're like, oh.
No one should ever go on a boat, ever.
Yeah.
Ever. That's what the Return of the Obra Dinn taught me, is that boats are disgusting.
It's kind of funny, because you're like, oh, a great tragedy occurred, the crew all died, like, oh, you're going to figure out what this tragedy is that killed the entire crew.
No.
And, like, 20 of them just kind of died, like, mundane, like, oh, he got sick.
This, like, 2 of them die of pneumonia. One gets killed because cargo falls on them. One of them gets struck by lightning. That was the craziest one of all of them. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the one I least expected of, like, all, because it, like, boots up the memory and you're like, oh, shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, a lot of them just die of, like, really mundane, or just like, oh, they got in a fight, or they were trying to stage a riot and they just got killed.
Yeah. Or the badass captain kicked their asses.
Yeah. Or,
Robert Witterell is the captain, and boy, that guy kicks ass, man.
That guy's fucking dope. Or his wife stumbles on deck. Abigail, and, like, a thing. Like, because it's funny because, like, you find her body in the bed, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, she was sick or something, right? And then it's like, oh, no, she wandered out on deck in the middle of the storm and the mast fell on her.
Well, I think she walked out on deck during the Kraken attack. And that's right, Yeah, she's like the first victim. She's like not the first victim, but one of the victims of the Kraken attack, because it breaks some rigging and it falls on her and breaks her neck. And hey, Kraken attack.
Yeah, you're like, okay, well, it's like, okay, well, you first, because the first thing you get is that mutiny, right? It's like, okay, there's a handful of crewmen and they're all attacking the captain and he's defending himself, and it's like, okay, well, so it was a mutiny. We're gonna figure out what led to the mutiny,
right?
And then you get a few memories in, and it's like, why are there big squid tentacles?
Oh, it's a Kraken. Oh, because I thought the whole game was going to be like straight up realism, you know?
Right. So and it's like funny because like you get that magic watch and you're like, okay, well the watch is more of a game abstraction, than like an actual physical object that exists.
Right. It exists just to forward the concept of the game. It's not really supposed to be taken literally, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, there's just magic in this version of 1807. Sure. There's a Kraken, and it tears that poor guy in half. Maba, that poor bastard. Boy, he gets it roughest of them all.
Right? And then so I'm like, okay, well, there's a Kraken. All right. You know what? I can accept giant squids exist.
Sure.
They're real.
They're not that big, but sure.
No, but, whatever. I get it. Okay. And then you get the crab people.
Crab people look like
people,
crabs.
Taste like crab.
Look like crabs, talk like people. But they're like really creepy looking. I hate them. I hate them.
Okay, so did you also hate going to the third deck where you have to go down the stairs and eventually there just is that crab body there?
Yeah, I didn't like opening that door and there's just a crab body there because I really thought I was like, is this a non-standard game over? Is this how I die? Can you do that?
I don't like that one where it's just there in the ship.
I don't like it. It's very ominous. I don't like it. I don't like.
I don't like the one memory where there's like 2 of them coming down the stairs before they're like brutally attacked.
Right.
And you can just see the weird like seaweed men that ride them.
Yeah,
and you have to go under their legs to get to the deck, and I'm like, I don't like this memory. I don't want to be in this memory.
It's creepy and crawly, and there's... No, I don't like it. No thanks. Thank you.
No,
I'm good, actually. I'm actually very good with that one. Thanks.
And then of course, you're like, oh, and also there's mermaids.
Oh, yeah, but they're not like sexy mermaids. They're like creepy... They're like creepy crawfish murder mermaids.
Oh, goodness, no, are they not sexy, beautiful mermaids?
They are aggressively not. They got 4 boobies. I noticed that. They got 4 titties. And I'm like, that's funny. And 12.
They tear out that woman's throat?
They tear out that woman's throat. They drag enough. Boy, one of the most ominous memories ever is, it's one of the Russian guys who's on the boat, when they're trying to get away from the Obra Dinn. He's on the boat, and I think it's Alexei is one of the two Russian guys. It's the guy with the pipe, and we'll get to the pipe.
Yeah.
We'll get to that pipe, and you see one memory where he's standing up on the boat, and he's got his hand kind of back, and you're not really paying attention, but then you like kind of do like a double look, and there's like a hand coming out of the water that is just starting to wrap around his wrist. And then the next memory is like that hand is now like pulling his whole body backward into the water. And you're just like, oh, fuck, okay. Yeah. It's creepy. They are creepy murder crab ladies. I don't like it.
And, hey, award to the cook for being the dumbest motherfucker alive.
You stupid idiot.
This fucking dumbass.
This stupid idiot is like, oh, I can fry it up right for you, and then gets instantly spiked through the throat.
Right.
And then that makes them drop the thing and kill that other poor bastard.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. So that was one of the ones that I will admit I straight up just looked up who it is. Because I wanted to get the ending, and I was just like, I don't know who you are, my dude. I cannot find a hint. Like, even the hint was not helping, and I was just like, he and like two others, I was at the end of my rope. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I am not above just Googling who this guy is.
Like, some of them, like, there's a reason the game tells you, like, hey, sometimes you gotta guess.
Sometimes you gotta guess, but...
Sometimes there isn't a definitive answer. Sometimes you just kind of have to cycle through a few names until you get one right.
Yeah, that's basically it, but... boy, there was like 3 or 4, that I was just at, like, the end of my rope with, and I just... Like, yeah, I'll admit to it, here, with everybody listening, and with God... You know, paying attention. Like, yeah, I Googled a couple because I was losing my mind and I'm a completionist. I have to. Like, there's no way I was going to end this game with it not locking in, you know? Mm-hmm. No way. So.
Yeah, like, and one of the things, like, this game does a really good job of, so there's a few things, like, I do like that this game does to help you along, and, like, there's a few that I'm like, I wish there was a way you could repeat the audio.
Yeah, oh my god, you can, like, if you load into the memory, you can, like, as you load into it, it'll replay the audio, but that is not a very intuitive way. Yeah. Because you're also looking at other details. I mean, like, why can't I just click on a line in the
transcript?
Yeah, why can't I just click on a line in the transcript and have it replay?
Mm-hmm. Right, because, like... A lot of the hints are, what's this guy's accent?
Yeah, like, what is this guy's accent? Who is he talking to? You know, I want to just be able to replay it to try and parse out who's saying what. And it's, like, really hard. Yeah. Especially when you have to just, like, the only way you can rehear dialogue is to just reload the memory. Like, that's probably one of my biggest complaints with this game.
Yeah. I also wish that once you had all the memories, you could access them through the book instead of having to walk to all the bodies.
Especially because there's no run button in this game.
Yeah, you play as a very out-of-shape individual.
Yeah, I get that, like, you're supposed to just be like a 1800s insurance investor, and you know, like, he's probably not going to be very compelled to, like, run around, because, like, why should he? But also, like, can we please pick up the pace, please? So... Like,
a little bit?
Like, hurry it up. So
I got places to be.
I really would like to go down to the Orlop deck and look at that guy whose leg got sawed off again, but it's taking a long time. So, yeah.
But I also really like you said, it removes the names once you lock someone in. It removes their names as an option.
Yes.
The instant you get 3, it's like, boom, they're locked in.
Yeah. Oh god, that is the best. And to just have it, like, solid and yes.
There's no need to, like, confirm or anything. Right. It's like as soon as you put the right name with the right cause and the right the right victim, the right method and the right assault, perpetrator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's like, boom, you're in. You're good.
Yeah, don't even worry about it. Although I do wish you could skip the little cutscene that shows you it, like, ticking over, you know? Like, I saw that, because like you said, once you hit 30 people, it's like a cascade effect, which means you're seeing it a lot toward the end of the game, and you're like, can I skip this? Can we pick this up? I get it.
It made me feel smart.
I mean, it did make me feel smart, but after a certain point, I was like, I know what's happening. I know what's going to happen. It's going to show the thing at the back of the book, and the book is going to go tick, 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 and then it's going to take a second, and I got to load back into the game. Can we not? Can we just not? Please? Can we just get back to the game? I have more mysteries to solve.
The fun fucking part of the game.
Yeah.
I hope we solve this mystery!
I didn't see a Sebastian the Crab for like 4 fucking hours.
No, there was too much Sebastian the Crab in this game.
There were so many Sebastians, and none of them were fun or cute. They were just scary, and they cut that one guy's head off, and man, yeah, it's rough.
There were some wipeouts in this game.
Yeah, I will say, this is like my other like most like, and it's not even a complaint, it's just me like whining. It has nothing to do with the quality of the game, but some of the deaths listed didn't get used, and I was just like, I wanted to see a dude get poisoned.
Right? Like,
you know?
And I get it, they're red herrings to like, you know.
I know, but...
To like, I'll be smart and I'll just go through what's listed here. Like, no, you'll never...
Okay, there are 60 people die on the... Well, okay, 56 people die on the Obra Dinn, right? And, like, at least 20 of them get spiked by a monster.
Right. Yeah.
Between the crab riders and the mermaids, like, that alone, that is a lot of people getting spiked by a terrible beast, which is the exact word from the game. You know?
Yeah, like there were a few that I wish were like used, like poisoned or like died of old age.
Yeah, it would have been great to have just like grandma just like kick the bucket somewhere, you know? She had a heart attack because she's so old and the Kraken was here, you know? Stuff like that. It's like, come on. Or
That would have been cool, yeah.
I think there was one that was for like starved to death, and it's like I know that it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but like the stowaway who died inside the barrel, like we could have used starved then. You know, they couldn't get out of the barrel, and they starved to death inside. You know, something like that. I know it's fucked up, but like stuff like that. It would have been interesting, but I mean, because a lot of people just get spiked by a terrible beast, or speared by a terrible beast, or crushed by a terrible beast, you know?
I will say that's another thing where it's like, I'm really grateful that, like, you can use a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you do have options sometimes.
Yeah, that it is nice that, like, I think in the execution scene, right? You can say that the captain is the culprit for that one.
Yeah.
Because he did technically condemn an innocent man to be executed.
Right.
So, like, the captain is considered culpable. Like, you could either say, like, this guy shot him, or you could say the captain did it. I like that kind of thing. I like that it's got a little bit of wiggle room. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be this exact thing.
I did learn there is an achievement you can get.
Really? Okay.
For finding a way to pin everything on the captain, because it's technically all his fault.
Really?
Yes.
How? How would you even do that? I
don't know what like you would use as the cause for a lot of those, but I know there is a way to pin it on the captain for everything.
Huh. That's interesting.
Because by being the captain of the ship, everything that happens is his responsibility. Yeah. So he's technically the one at fault. Sure.
Okay, that's kind of neat. I would like to look that up and see how one goes about doing that. That is really interesting. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on just like in the backgrounds and these little you learn. I learned a lot about boats playing this game.
I did too.
I learned a lot about how boats work by playing this game.
And I learned how not to go on a boat.
Yeah,
ever.
and to never ever go. I was like, before I played this game, I was like, I'd like to go on a cruise. And then I played The Return of the Obra Dinn, and I was like, I am never going on a cruise ever. I know it's different, but still. All it takes, you're on a fucking Carnival cruiser, and all it takes is for all of the toilets on the boat to break, and it's like you're basically in 1807 again.
Right.
That's it.
You basically are the artist shitting himself to death.
Yeah, exactly. So, don't go on boats, man. Like, the ocean there's things out in the ocean. There's krakens and, four-titted mermaids and crab riders. Let the ocean have the ocean. We are supposed to be on land, I've learned. Mm-hmm. Don't. God, there's so many, what else did I say? Does it say at the beginning of this is in my notes, at the beginning of the game, when you're given the book, and it has, a preface, do you remember if the preface note was signed at the end of it?
Yes, it was, and that's how you're supposed to learn that the Doctor is alive.
Okay, I thought so.
It straight up says signed by Henry Evans.
Henry Evans, yeah. And God, I totally forgot. I didn't even check the preface. What I did was, the way I figured out that Evans was alive was because Emily Jackson and Jane something. I figured out that they were on the boat, and I thought, I think we were talking about this last night when I was going through the game. I put down that maybe they're still alive, and then it prompts you to pick a country. And I just picked the first one in the list, which is Africa. And then for Emily Jackson, it was instantly, because I had already filled in 2 correctly, I guess. So then the game was like, surprise, you got it right! And so then I was like, I guess everybody else in the lifeboat is still alive then.
Yeah.
So that's how I figured out that Evans was still alive. I didn't even think to use the preface. And I guess you could have figured it out that way too. You could have worked backwards the other way, where you see Evans wrote the preface, so he has to have survived the Obra Dinn. So, whoever else was on that lifeboat with Evans also is alive, right?
Right.
So that's interesting. I think that's really cool.
I think you're supposed to look at the map and figure out, they're in Africa because it's the closest landmass to where on the ship's path.
Right.
But it's also the first option, and so your instinct is to just click it as a placeholder until you get to it later.
Yep.
And then it's oh no, you were right.
Oh, congratulations. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that works too. Thanks.
Because my logic was, all right, I'll just put Africa for now, and then I'll search memories to find the secret charter or the diary that'll be open in one memory that'll be when we make our escape, we'll be heading to this country. And it's that didn't happen.
Nope, that's not what it is. They literally just went to the nearest landmass. I did not use the maps. I should have, I feel like, but it was really only useful for that one sequence, right?
Yeah. You got way more, what I do like is that there were some memories that it's okay, we'll use this one a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You go back to the execution a lot. You go back to, I went back to the one where the 2 sick people, I went back to that one a lot.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people there and there's kind of a lot going on.
Yeah, the author's death I went back to a lot because there's a lot of men in their hammocks.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Because that one had that was the one that had numbered hammocks, right?
Yeah, the one where the 2 people are sick, and the one with the author has a lot of people sleeping in their numbered hammocks, and that's how you can identify a lot of people.
Yes, and that is super handy. It's so... And it's fun to talk about this kind of thing, because it's kind of you can talk about it with a friend who's beaten it, and they'll have arrived at a similar conclusion in a completely different way.
Yeah, it's all a matter of, like, when, like, in what order did you piece, like, the people together, you know?
Yeah, like, who did you figure out who died first, or did you figure out who killed that guy first? And from there, it can kind of have, like, a ripple effect. If you figure out, well, this guy killed this guy, then, like, you can figure out who, like, the guy who did the killing is, so then you can go, well, this is how he died, and then it ripples out from there. But it could also go the other way. And you can find, like, a guy who got killed, figure out who he is, and then maybe find him in an earlier memory where he's still alive and he killed somebody. And, again, it ripples out from there, and you get lots of different answers that way. And you get the same answer, typically speaking. There is wiggle room, like we said. You get the similar answer, but in completely different ways. And that is, like, this is probably the greatest detective game ever made. This
is the kind of game where, like, yeah, if you really like the investigation parts of Phoenix Wright,
yeah,
or you really like the way her story is handled, like, yeah, this is the investigation game for you.
Yeah, this is probably the greatest detective game. Like, it's better than any Sherlock game. It's better than LA Noire, because the deal with, like, games like that is they think they need to give you, like LA Noire's famous interrogation scenes, you know? It's a multiple choice thing, and how do you press on a person and that kind of thing. And it's a little bit more forgiving. This is, like, a true whodunit. You really have to figure out, like, how it all went down and it takes a lot of, like, deductive reasoning. You have to pay attention to the fact that the guy who gets drowned by that mermaid, you see him earlier and he's smoking a pipe, and you know he's hanging out with the Russians, so you know he's a Russian. And so you're like, oh, okay, well, I know who this guy is, and the Russians tend to hang out together. This other guy on the lifeboat is also one of the Russians. So, and there's only, like, 3 Russians on the Obra Dinn, so suddenly it's like, okay, well, it's gotta be one of them. So you're using actual deductive reasoning and skill to figure out who all of these people are. And it's like you really do feel like a detective.
Yeah, you're not kind of using more, like, the basic kind of video gamey logic you're used to, where it's like, okay, well, you have to match the objects with the person, like in a Phoenix Wright game or like in LA Noire.
Yeah.
You know, you are not, like, clicking on a thing and getting a clue to add to your inventory. It's all like, no, observe your surroundings.
Yeah.
Make mental notes for yourself.
Yeah.
And use that. Like, I remember there was one where I realized, wait a minute, holy shit, the guy speaking understands Chinese.
Yeah, so he has to...
He has to be...
He has to be Chinese.
Yeah, he because it's not likely in the 1800s that a European man would just happen to know Chinese. It's more likely that a Chinese person on a ship would know English.
Actually, that's super interesting, though, because the guy who's doing the translation, when they kidnap the Formosans, and they have, like, the one Chinese guy with them, the interesting thing is that guy doesn't know everything the Formosans are saying, because Formosa is the colonial name for Taiwan.
I'm sorry, it's not Chinese, it's Thai. It's Taiwan.
But that's the interesting thing. The interesting thing is that those people are speaking Taiwanese, which is similar to Chinese, but not the same. So the Chinese guy could understand them, but he couldn't understand everything. So the exact line he says is, he says something like, they said something about a monster. Like, he doesn't know everything they're saying, which is great.
And
like, that's how you know that he's not Formosan. He's Chinese. Like, he doesn't know everything they're saying. It's like, oh shit, cool. I know what I have an answer.
Because, like, I was trying to identify him by, like, his accent or by, like, the way he's speaking or who he's associating with, and then, like, I was talking to Melissa about it. Like, I literally did the thing that programmers do, where they, like, talk the problem into someone else. They're like, oh shit.
Oh my god, yeah.
Because you know, because trying to, like, that whole section is one that you don't want to keep going back to, because you have to dig through multiple memories to get to the one you want. So you're like, I want to just get everyone I can right now.
This is what you mean when you say, like, I should be able to jump to a memory from the journal. Like, I should be able to click on a button inside the journal, and it will just take me to that memory, because otherwise you've got to go to this dead guy's memory, and then from inside that dead guy's memory you've got to go to another one, and it's like, once I unlock it, I should just be able to get to it instantly, you know?
Like, for the most part, that's not a problem, because, like, they usually create a body in the environment that you can just go to, you know, once it's solved. Like, but that's, like, the only section that's, like, layered that way.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating. It's not very... I mean, like, this game is still, like, a Game of the Year contender, but it definitely has, like, its minor imperfections. And I think that's a big one, is that it has, like, these nested memories that are just really frustrating and not very intuitive to try and get back to. And you know, it's kind of like you don't want to turn people off from revisiting the scene of the crime.
Right, and so, like, you know, when you're there and I'm trying to figure that out, I'm like, okay, I want to get everyone in here so I can lock them away and be done with them.
Right.
And then I was telling her, like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out this guy's accent, but I don't know it.
Yeah.
And, like, I think I know who these guys are, because this guy, I think I know who this guy is, so if I just get these two right, I can get this guy. And then I'm like, wait, he understands the Formosans.
Yep.
Which means he can't be the Irish guy.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so good, yeah.
And then sure enough, I picked the only other crewmate that was left that was Chinese, and it was, like, locked in.
Perfect. Amazing.
And I was like, holy shit.
How cool is that? Yeah, there's just moments like that through the whole game where you have, like, these little moments of, like, oh my god. Like, the two Charleses. There's two Charles on board. And you have to figure it out, and you have to listen to the one, you know, you're like, oh, well, I don't think, like, one of these Charles is dressed like a midshipman, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, oh, well, that's who this guy is. The guy throwing up is wearing the midshipman's uniform. So, that's who that is.
And because I think it was a Frenchman and an Englishman, right?
It's a Frenchman and an Englishman.
Yeah, and, you know, in that scene where, like, he's throwing up, it's like, well, you know what? Out of the two, it's probably more likely the Englishman would be on a farm, and, like, because one of the guys says, I've never been on a farm, eh, Charlie? And it's like,
right.
Well, yeah, between an Englishman and a Frenchman, I would think the Englishman is more, like, the Frenchman is less likely to have grown up on a barn.
Right. Well, no, the Englishman is the one who hasn't been on a farm. So he's more of, like, a posh type, so he's never, like, seen yeah.
Oh, you're right, you know, you're right.
It's the other way around. Although I am so mad, because I couldn't figure out who the Frenchman was, and I finally figured it out, because you figure out who the bosun is, and the other Frenchman is the bosun's mate. And I was so annoyed, because it's like, sometimes you do just gotta go off a stereotype, because the fucking Frenchman is the guy in the striped shirt. Are you serious right now?
That's right. You're right. You're totally right. I mixed those up in my head with someone else, but yeah, the bosun's mate is fucking wearing the
I wear striped shirt. I am a Frenchman.
He's got because he's like the muscly guy with like the stripe, like a French strongman. Like, I was so
mad. I was so mad when I figured it out.
And then also on the bosun's, on his death thing, he says like, "Where's my Frenchman?"
Yeah,
and you're like, wait.
And then you connect the dots, and you go, "Oh, god damn it!"
You're like, "Oh." It's the guy that looks French.
It's the guy that looks French. Although the game did turn me on my ear, because we got to talk about the carpenter and the carpenter's mate.
I think that was totally intentional.
It was totally intentional. And I think it was awesome.
And I will admit it. Yeah, when we both had the same logic where we're like, well, it's the 1800s.
These guys are both from America, right? Like, they list it's I know that one is Marcus and one is I can't remember. Yeah. I can't remember right now, but
it's the carpenter and the carpenter's mate,
right?
And it's like, all right, well,
it's the 1800s.
I know who the carpenters are, and one of them is a black guy.
And the deal is that not only was he the black guy, and like, yeah, realistically, you think in the 1800s, this guy is an American specifically, and like in 1807 America, no, slavery hadn't been abolished yet. 1807 England, though, it had been. I didn't think about that because they left from London, or I think something like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't think about that. So it's like, for one, like, yeah, 1807, this guy's black. Two, he looked younger. That was the other thing that threw me off.
Yeah, you're right.
He did look a lot. The other guy, but I guess it's because facial hair does that, because the carpenter's mate has a big bushy mustache. And I was like, this guy is older, so he's more experienced, so he's the carpenter. And the younger black guy is the carpenter's mate. No, I was totally wrong.
Yeah,
it's the other
totally
way
wrong.
around. The Obra is way more progressive than I thought, which was great. And it was totally like a red hair, not like a red herring, but like a misdirection. There's my English.
Yeah, like,
it was a total misdirection.
But like, the other thing is that it's super obvious because in the carpenter mate's death,
yeah,
he calls out for his boss. He says boss.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You're right.
And it's like,
Dang, see, these things slip away from you.
I'm the racist, actually.
I'm the idiot. Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
I didn't expect it. I mean, you gotta think, it's, again, we're going off of historical shit, man. The game does a pretty good job of being, like, true to history, except for all the magic.
Right.
But it's pretty, I mean, like, it's using the colonial names for places. It's gross.
It's very gross.
It's very gross, and everything seems pretty, like the captain can only get off one shot when he kills the first mate, because he's using an old-fashioned flintlock. Like, right. So then the next two guys he kills, he has to use, like, a sword and a knife and a club, which is badass, by the way.
So
we can't understate how fucking badass that is. Like,
oh, dude, he's so cool.
I know everything is technically the captain's fault, yes, but that is so cool.
He's such a badass at that end.
At the end, it's so cool. You know, he's like, you'll take exactly what I'll give you, and he opens the door and he shoots the one guy and the other two charge in, and you get this perfect sense of the motion of the scene, where he uses his sword to kill one guy, and then, like, takes the other dude's club and just bashes his fucking head open. Dope as hell.
Oh,
so cool. So cool. So,
I will admit that the acrobatic midshipman, like the one who's always seen, like, climbing on things and going through windows.
Yes.
He was my fucking Moriarty for, like, the entire game.
Who are you?
Because he's in so many scenes,
he's so many scenes,
and he's always climbing on shit.
Because he's the one that's climbing, like, down from the captain's fucking, like, boat. Like, when the captain is fighting those three guys, he's, like, climbing on things, right?
He's going through the back window, and it's like,
God.
and I'm like, I need to figure out who you are. I don't know who you are.
Who are you? Tell me your name. Yeah, it's so cool.
I just keep seeing, there he is again.
Yeah, he's in, like, every fucking scene. It's like, who? And he's just some nobody. That's the problem. Like, identifying, like, because, like, the ranking officers and stuff like that, they've all got uniforms. Like, the captain.
They all wear hats.
The first through fourth mate, which, by the way, why the fuck are there so many mates on this ship? I did fall victim. At one point, I got the second and third mate mixed up somehow. And then it wasn't until the mermaid scene that I realized that Nichols was the third mate. The third mate?
No, Nichols is the second mate. It's all the second mate's fault. Everything is his fucking fault.
Everything is the second mate's fault.
Nichols fucking sucks.
Fucking idiot. Not nearly as cool as the other ones.
No.
Like, no. Man. But yeah, somehow I got them mixed up. It's the third mate is the cool bearded guy, like the old bearded guy.
Yeah.
Somehow I misidentified him. I don't know how, but I did, and it wasn't until the mermaid scene and they said, like, Nichols, for God's sake, shoot one of them. I was like, and then I saw, like, the guy cowering, like, at the bottom of the lifeboat, and he's holding a gun, and I was like, oh, I was wrong all along. So had to fix that one. But yeah, man, how cool is this game?
This game's, and, okay, well, like, also, like, speaking of Nichols, like, he fucking got his comeuppance.
Boy, he just gets fucking blasted because he tries to go back. He tries to go back to the Obra Dinn like a little bitch, and just gets like straight up blasted. Right, man,
like totally deserved.
Totally, absolutely deserved to just like take a round right to the face. That ruled. And yeah, just like there's so many little like moments like that. God, we've barely. I feel like we. It's like. What we've been saying is just spoiler city. But there are so many like other little interesting vignettes in this game. And
well, that's the cool thing is that like it takes what would be like a walking sim, you know, like investigating a cool environment.
Yeah.
And creates this entire mechanic around solving the mystery in a way that's not, like I said, not like gathering evidence, you know?
Right. Yeah, you're not just picking up key items. Although I will say, if Lucas, I doubt Lucas Pope will ever make a game like this again. But I wish
someone else does.
God, I wish somebody else would like just crib off of this concept like blatantly. I kind of feel like I should have been able to not necessarily like have an inventory, but like the fucking doctor should have been keeping track of names and stuff, you know?
Right.
Like there should have been, like, a fucking journal with, like, so-and-so caught the consumption or the lung disease or whatever.
Right? I mean, like, he treats 2 people.
He treats, like, 2 people. But no, because also that guy who gets his leg cut off.
Oh, yeah. But you know, but he's treating people. Like, he doesn't keep a record of that information.
Yeah, you would think he would, like, keep track of who's sick and who's doing well and, you know, who's got the sniffles and stuff like... I feel like those... Like, there could have been a little bit more stuff. Because, like, the Obra Dinn in the present, where it's just full of dead people, is, like... It is barren, you know?
Right.
I feel like there could have been... Because there's, like, the numbered beds... And I feel like there could have been more of that in the game. Like, if I could level, like, a single complaint with the environmental storytelling in this game, I feel like, realistically, more things in the boat would have, like, had a name on it somewhere.
Like, yeah, like, not necessarily ways to, like organize people, but just, like, better ways to, like, identify a large group, you know?
Yeah.
Like, not necessarily specific names to people, but it's like, oh, well... Here is, like, you know, I don't even know what it would be. Like, yeah, but, like, here's a list of people who got sick. Well, okay, well, if they're sick, they logically wouldn't be in this scene.
Right,
you know?
Yeah. Or get a few more people sick, and then you have to identify who's... If it's, like, 5 people, you gotta figure out which one it is, you know? Stuff like that. I don't know. But I mean, these are like minor complaints because yes, you can figure out everything in this game. Like it's not impossible to figure out everything in this game. There's a little bit of trial and error.
But I mean, like also that is literally encouraged by the game itself to say like, hey, you know what? Sometimes you just gotta guess.
You just gotta guess, man.
Yeah, and
you
like
can't get it all right.
Yeah, they deliberately didn't put in all the clues. You know.
Yeah, because you can't know everything. That's the thing about being, like, an investigator, realistically, an investigator, especially in the 1800s. Like, you realistically cannot know everything. Like, you just can't. So,
like, if you didn't have a magic watch that showed you the moment someone died...
You would not know what's going on at all. You would maybe be able to piece together, like, 4 deaths, you know? Just by looking at, like, their fucking skulls. But that's it. And yeah, it's so, God, I want somebody else to take this idea and just crib it shamelessly. Right. You know, set it somewhere completely different, like, give it a different visual style, but, like, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, and I really liked this game, and I just kind of want more like it, where it's the same idea. Hey, this fucking thing happened. Figure out who died and how and by whom. Like, that's it, you know?
And specifically by doing it by taking environmental clues and not, like, pieces of evidence. Like,
right.
Like, although, like, also, before we do that, I want to talk about, like, the fact, like, the thing that shows the watch is not a game abstraction.
Oh.
Which is the epilogue chapter.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
Where he's like, yeah, the doctor set up a situation so that you could get into a locked door.
Right, yeah. Like, that is so interesting. Like, what a neat kind of... It's like a pseudo-plot twist, because, like, the doctor says, oh, the key to that is long gone. Like, there's no way you can figure out what happened to, like, the last, like, 4 people on the ship, you know? And so you have to instead, like, the doctor... And I love it. It's a monkey's paw.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a monkey's paw. The monkey's paw slowly curls inward. He literally sends you a monkey's paw.
Yeah.
As
like, do you want to know what happens for real? Like,
yeah, and that kind of does make the captain look like a bastard. Like, just put them back in the ocean, guys. But you know, I guess they would have been so pissed that if Evans and his gang hadn't, like, bargained for their lives with the last surviving mermaid, that I guess nobody, like, the Obra Dinn just would have been destroyed, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so in that way, I guess, you know, it's kind of like the captain was just doing what he thought would work, which is, you know, attacking these mermaids to make them call off the Kraken. But still.
That's still, like, a bit of a dick move.
Kind of a dick move. They are just kind of, like, stuck down in there and can't defend themselves. So, but, yeah. I mean, you know, then again, they also speared, like, 20 guys.
Right.
So, you know, maybe everybody's an asshole. That's the that's the takeaway I got from the Obra Dinn, is that pretty much everybody on that boat was a jerk, too.
Yeah,
like, there's, like, a couple who weren't, but, you know.
Not a lot of heroes.
No, but I guess that's realistic, because it's, you know, like, people. So... Yeah.
You're not really here to root for anyone. You're mostly here to just figure out what happened and leave.
Figure out what happened. Figure out that the captain is a badass. And yeah, just so cool. Such a cool concept.
I mean, honestly, he could make a sequel to this.
Yeah.
Because the insurance clerk still has the watch.
The insurance clerk still has the watch. And I mean, you know, I know Locust Pope this game took 4 years, and I don't know how much of that. I don't know how much of that was narrative design. I think a lot of it was narrative design, and how much of it was tech, like, was coming up with tech, because obviously that was a huge part of it too. And I don't know how much Lucas Pope is the kind of guy to go back and, like, revisit an idea, or if he's just gonna, like, try new things. But I would really love a sequel. I would absolutely love a sequel, or just a spiritual successor in this style of environmental storytelling in, like, the most intriguing way possible. God, I know. The problem now is that Obra Dinn has given you an itch that cannot be scratched. Yeah, no, I'm like, hey, you got any Phoenix Wright games in the work, Capcom? No.
You know, like, help a little bit?
That might help a little bit, but even that's not, like, the same now.
No.
I guess there's Danganronpa. Like, that's a detective game. I know, I hate that art style, too. But it is technically a detective game, and people, like, really enjoy it, so... I don't know, man. I feel like I can find something a little better than that. Yeah, this is the problem, is that the Obra Dinn has given you an itch that you really can't satisfy anywhere else. You kind of have to just, like not think about the game for a year and then come back to it. Yeah. just like don't think about it, so that all of those memories are just, like, washed out of your brain. And then come back to it in a year, and maybe it'll kind of be... I mean, like, you'll get a few, because you'll just know... But, like, all those fucking names and stuff? Nah, you won't remember that. No. Nah, man, nah. You won't remember any of that, so just come back to it. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Man. I can't believe this game. This game's so good. Like, yeah, I was just, like, glued from start to finish. Yeah, it was one game we just kind of picked on a whim. We were gonna do spooky games for Christmas, we were gonna do, like, a Nightmare Before Christmas kind of joke. But then things happened, and we're like, let's just play Obra Dinn instead. Well, this trailer was kind of like, well, this might be a horror game. Like, it's got a bit of a mystery and like scary, like, aesthetic to it. And then we're like, oh, it's not a mystery, but I don't want to stop. but it's a mystery, but it's not like a spooky. It's not scary, except for the crab riders. They're kind of scary.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of counts. But yeah, no, it's just been so good. Really, I'm really sad that it's over. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you really, really want to just like chew on it forever. It's like 60 people is a lot of people, but also could you add about 30 more?
Right? Like, can we get like a DLC pack where we have to like investigate something else?
There's like a bunch of other people. Yeah, he's like the Obra Dinn, the insurance adjuster. He's like an investigator. He had like a whole bookshelf full of books at the end of the game. Yeah. It's like, let me pick out one of those books and figure out what happened in one of those too. You know, like see what's going on there. So yeah, it's interesting. Is that it?
All right. I think so.
Did we do it in just under like an hour and a half? My God.
Yeah.
I'm so proud.
Like, so that's it for the Obra Dinn, though. But there is like something else I wanted to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah. Boy, that sucks.
Yeah.
The best friends disbanded after 9 years.
Today is December the 19th, and so it's been 4 days. It happened early Sunday morning on the 16th, so it's been, four-ish days. And it sucks. It's really sad. It was just a thing. I mean, it's not a lot to say.
Right, but I mean,
this podcast exists because of...
Yeah. They are literally the reason that you and I were like, well, we can do a podcast.
I mean, these idiots can make it work, and, you know, I think I'm smarter than Patrick Boyven, frankly. It'd be one thing if, like, one of them was dead. Yeah.
This would be a little sadder, but, like, it's, they're all going to be doing their own thing still.
Right.
But still, it's just like, God, these guys have been doing it for 9 years, and it just sucks to kind of see it disband.
Yeah, it's sad. But, I mean, like, it's still kind of like, man, it's over, but it was a wild ride, and, they're all doing fine, so I guess, like, thank you?
Yeah, mostly just, like, thanks, guys, for being, like, the straightest shooters in the Let's Play YouTube community.
Right, yeah, like, just, like, some normal Canadian idiots who we're just having a good time, playing some really good video games, some really bad video games, too. Thank you for playing the David Cage quadrilogy so that I didn't have to.
the quintilogy.
The quintilogy,
because there was the 5. Because they did Omicron too.
Yeah, but I mean, we played Detroit, but the 4 games before it. Thank you for playing that, so that I don't have to. I know Omicron nearly killed all of you, so thanks. And yeah,
that's all. Like I can literally, if I ever run into Patrick Boivin somehow, I can be like, that guy. Right there, him. He is the reason that I did a podcast.
And actually, that's interesting because, I guess to not end it on a totally dour note, after we just spent an hour and 10 minutes gushing about how good Obra Dinn is, our listenership has doubled. In comparison to last year. I guess it's a good thing to end it on. Hey, it's the end of the year, and in a year we have literally doubled the number of people who listen to us.
Like, I am looking at the stats now, and we are 62 listens away from the 20,000 mark.
Wow. Yeah.
In number of listens.
And last year it was only like 10K or something, right?
Last year actually it was more like 8K.
Oh, wow. So we have more than doubled the number of people listening to us in a year, which is just amazing. Like, I mean, like, it's these are small podcast listening numbers, but when we started, I was telling you, I was like, if 50 people listen to us talk about video games once a week, then I'll be happy. Like, that 50 people give enough of a shit to listen to like my terrible video game opinions for an hour to 3 hours a week is amazing.
Like, if and the year's not over, we still have 2 episodes left.
I know!
This year. So we'll probably go more in depth in this during our last episode of the year, but like, yeah, like you and I are both like, yeah, if we get double digits for a single episode, like that'll be the biggest deal ever.
Yeah.
And we regularly pull in 100 listens per week for an episode.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's just amazing. So,
yeah.
You know,
so,
I guess it's like the best friends are gone, but like, thank you for listening to us, and thank you for like making us, kind of inspiring us to do The Gorge. So, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who listens to us, and thank you to the best friends for inspiring us. I will definitely keep checking out Willy Versus and Wahapa.
Yeah, Wahapa and Pat Stares At. And
all those stuff. I'll still check you guys out constantly. I hope Pat and Willy play DMC5.
That's all I ask.
I will still
definitely right now.
I will definitely still be listening to Castle of Super Beast when you guys pick that up again. Mm-hmm. And we will all unsubscribe from Super Bunny Hop.
Yeah, that's the rule, right? Unfortunately now everybody has to unsub from Bunny Hop, which will probably destroy his YouTube channel. Yeah. But I guess that's fine. Sorry, George. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess that's a nice way to end the night. Thank you to everybody who listens to us. So.
Yeah. So also thank you to Brokery for background music. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at The Gorge Podcast. You can email us at thegorgepodcast.gmail.com. And you can listen to Sarah's other podcast, which also is sometimes about murder and mystery solving.
That was pretty good. I'll give you that one. Hey, I'm in another podcast called Big Gay Nerds, where me and a bunch of cool queer friends get together and we play tabletop games. We just finished up our Christmas special. We did a Christmas special, and it was probably some of the most fun I've ever had with a tabletop game in my entire life. So you should come check us out. We're at Big Gay Nerds on SoundCloud, and you can find the link to the rest of our social media from there.
All right. That'll do it for... Oh, what?
Oh, no. I was about to say, I was so eager to do it. Say it. Just do the usual outro.
So that'll do it for us.
Fuck Nichols. I mean, really? This is all that guy. I was, like, so eager to get that one out, man.
Oh.
Like...
He fucking sucks. That coward.
Let's go. Let's stick, 10 guys and a big, heavy treasure chest. We're gonna stick it... You're in the middle of the ocean, and you're gonna stick them on some fucking lifeboats? And just what are you gonna do? Just row your dumbass out and hope everything turns out okay? Come on! No.
He got everyone on those boats killed.
Everybody on those boats got killed, and then he got shot in the face like a little bitch. So yeah, fuck Edward Nichols, second mate.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.